Welcome to your video on the Pythagorean theorem, part 2. You'll be able to use the Pythagorean theorem to determine if a triangle is in fact a right triangle, and then you'll also be able to apply it to word problems. The first question we have is, how do we use the theorem to find right triangles? Remember, the Pythagorean theorem is something that only works with a right triangle, so we can use it to find and determine if a triangle is in fact a right triangle. So here we have our first problem. And what we're going to do is you just assign which is your A term, B term, and C term. So we'll have A, B, and C. And then you plug them in. So 5 squared, because it's A squared plus B squared, equals C squared, plus B, which would be 7, so 7 squared, equals, and then 12 squared. And you evaluate this out. So 5 squared is 25. 25 plus 7 squared is 49, equals, and then 12 squared is 144. And you want to see if these balance each other out. So you're going to take 25 and add 49, and you get an answer of 74. That does not equal 144, so your answer is no. This is not a right triangle. Here's another example problem for you. Again, you just pick your A term, your B term, and your C term, and evaluate. So A squared, so 9 squared plus 12 squared equals 15 squared. 9 squared is 81, 12 squared is 144, and 15 squared is 225. Now, if you don't know that, you can use a calculator. Not a big deal, but you do kind of want to start learning those squares and square roots. Then you're going to take 81 and add 144 to it, and you get 225. That matches the 225 on the other side. This is true, so yes, this triangle is a right triangle. How do I solve real-world problems using the Pythagorean theorem? The best thing I can tell you is to draw pictures. Draw. It makes it so much easier to figure out. So first question, and these are actually taken straight off of IXL, so you'll have very similar problems. Kenji takes a sheet of paper and cuts it from one corner to the opposite corner. So first thing I'm going to do is draw that picture. So here's my piece of paper, and it doesn't have to be the world's best drawing. Cuts it from one corner to the other corner, so it gets cut diagonally, making two triangles. So if the piece of paper is 16 centimeters long and 12 centimeters wide, how long was the diagonal cut? So we know 16 centimeters long, which would be this length here, 12 centimeters wide, which would be here, and then we want to know how long the diagonal cut is, how long this piece is right here, and that's going to be our C term. We can see that this is a triangle, and the longest side is always your hypotenuse. And then we can solve this. So we have 16 squared plus 12 squared equals C squared. And if you don't know what 16 squared is, you can use your calculator. 256 plus 144 equals C squared. 256 plus 144 gives you 400 equals C squared. Then you have to take the square root of 400, and 20 equals C. So that length would then be 20 centimeters, and you'd want to label that centimeters as well. Alright, here's another kind of problem that you might encounter. Ms. Gordon is teaching a 5th grade class. She is standing 15 meters in front of Alice. Vincent is sitting to Alice's right. If Vincent and Mrs. Gordon are 17 meters apart, how far apart are Alice and Vincent? Again, use a picture. That is super, super helpful. So she's standing 15 meters in front of Alice. So if Alice is here, Mrs. Gordon is standing right here. And this distance is 15 meters apart. Vincent is to Alice's right, which means Vincent has to be over here. That's the right-hand side. Alice's right. If Vincent and Mrs. Gordon, not Vincent and Allison, but Vincent and Gordon, so this distance right here, are 17 meters apart, how far are Alice and Vincent? In other words, how far away is that distance right here? So now that I have my picture drawn, I can solve this. So 15 squared. This term right here, you know, is your B term because it's going to be the longest, not the longest length. The 17 is the longest. 15 squared plus B squared equals 17 squared. Again, being familiar with squares and square roots is gonna help you a lot. But if you don't know it, you can use a calculator. 15 squared is 225 plus B squared equals 17 squared, which is 289. Solve for B, so we're going to subtract 225. B squared equals 64. And then you'll take the square root of 64, which is 8. So B equals 8 because we square rooted. So that means that Alice and Vincent are 8 meters apart. Your turn. Is this a right triangle? Please note that you cannot just have a yes or no answer. You need to show your work. You need to have evidence that you are correct. Otherwise, I'm just assuming that you're guessing. So you have a 50-50 chance of getting it right. So show all of your work and then prove whether or not this is in fact a right triangle or not. This is the end of your video. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.